Hey YouTube, it's Olympus Reptiles, and the other day we had a really bad day. Part of it's my fault, so I'm sure somebody will go in the comments like, man, but that's okay. I'll take that. I will explain what happened, and I will explain the end results. As a matter of fact, Kurt will put a little link in this description if you want to go back, and you can see the actual time where we found the problem. We didn't know what the problem was then, but you can see when we found it. We found the problem while we were here filming. So, what the hell happened? Well, if you look back here, I don't know how well you can see, this is a plug-in. That was not very dramatic. Hold on. Redo that. We need some drama. This is a plug-in. That's not plugged in. It was. The problem is, what we didn't realize is on one of our baby racks, our heat cable had failed. These are a rack that would be a design from, maybe it even says who made them on here. Yes, AP is who made those racks. So it's an AP design, which is not a rip on them. So don't be like, he's ripping. I'm not ripping the company at all, okay? I don't know how old those are. I didn't buy them new. They've been around a long time. They use a routed in heat cable design. So there's a heat cable that runs all through there. It's routed in, fits in. It's the same kind of cable you would use to, like, if you lived way up north in Alaska or North Dakota, or for some reason Canada, you would use that to probably keep your pipes from freezing up in the winter. Or maybe even in Kansas we have that bad winter like we did that one year. That's what this stuff is designed for, so it can get really nice and warm around the thermostat, so it doesn't get too hot. It does a good job providing under tank heat on a wide band, felt like that on the back of those tubs. So, we also have thermostats have audio warnings should anything fail, right? We thought. So we had that thing plugged in and running. We've hadn't had a single problem. And all of a sudden, we go to film a clutch update. That's what will be linked in the description. And you'll notice we said one of the babies had passed. We didn't show the baby on camera. We owned it. We disclosed it. At that time, I didn't know what had happened. It was a baby that had been on the struggle bus. That I think I said in the video, and that was true. It is one I had assist fed. The actual cause of death was it had been assist fed. I watched that baby finish eating for assisting. We just had to get it in and hooked. It was not a force feed. It took it down on its own. Things are looking good. Put it back in the rack. Well, it had attempted to regurgitate, and when it did that, it got stuck in its mouth. It couldn't get it out. It got folded in there somehow. Like it kind of came out, and I don't know what that thing did. Anyway, it was still stuck in its mouth, so it's very likely it choked itself out. Very sad. Sucks. I hate losing babies, especially, I hate losing any baby. You're going to lose them. It's going to happen. You produce, several hundred, you're going to lose some. It's just welcome to nature, right? Anyway, one thing I noticed while we were filming that is not a single one had eaten. And the way we feed our babies, typically new babies, these are all pretty new babies, we're trying to get established really well, is I will open the tub, I will grab usually a hopper mouse whose eyes are still closed, so it can't really do any damage, but they move around a lot. They'll cause a strike often. I'll try to feed off the tongue. If it doesn't take it, I drop the hopper mouse in and then I close the tub up. Walk away. We'll leave it in there for a day or two, a lot of times, to hope to induce a feed over time with that thing moving around as the snake feels more comfortable. It's worked for us 1,000 times. Don't do that with anything big enough to cause damage to your snake would be the caveat. What I began to notice is none of those snakes had eaten. And not just in that clutch that was on that side, the other side some of them did. But as I started in, I'm like, that's weird. And I went through the entire rack and noticed like all but one snake had not eaten. That is very, very odd. So with that, I said, what the hell is going on here? And started looking into it and come to find out the heat cable had died. So the heat cable is no longer working. That's why it's not plugged in and why I threw it, because I don't know if it's shorted out or not. We will have to pull that rack out, strip that heat cable, put in a new heat cable, and then it's going to work just fine. But it's offline for now. So what we did is we moved to the one we hadn't started using yet, got all the babies moved, and I'm happy to report the feeding was a lot better this week. Go figure. They're warm enough now. So that worked out very, very well the next week. But in there, that lost baby was caused by an equipment failure that we just didn't realize had failed. Don't know how long it had been failed. Probably anywhere from, I would say, 24 to 72 hours, because things were going good. The previous feeding, digestion went fine. We didn't have a bunch of regurges because of bad digestion, which is what we would have seen had it been too cold before. So that's when we think that probably fried out. Our thermostat did not beep at us. Now, that things had power outages and power comes back on. We live in Kansas. That happens with big storms. So some of the things could have been reset to not beep. I went through and checked to make sure everything's now turned on to beep. But I do have a couple that I know when they do beep, because every now and then a probe will get moisture. I have to switch the probe. You will not hear a beep. You may hear a little, but not a beep like you're supposed to hear. So you can't always trust that your thermostat's going to actually warn you. What you really need to do is look at them on occasion. And I'll be blunt, guys, I failed to do that because it's back there. It's kind of hidden away because it's a 6 one. This is a 1. Now, as you can see, I've got it set to 89.5. It's at 89.8, so it's a little bit warmer than it should, and it's at 0% power. I don't have to wait for that thing to beep at me. I can see it. Most of them are mounted in a way where I can see them. That one that's a 6 and is running this so much because the cords are far apart is mounted further back to not have those stretch too much. Meaning that I have to make a little bit of an extra effort to check that. It's not just as easy as, oh, there it is. And that is a failure on my part. Now, we got it fixed. We'll get the rack fixed. Honestly, because we have to. I have to get on that rack, and we have to do that in order to get all of that heat. You also need to periodically check your equipment, like especially your baby racks that you're not using very often and things like that that are just seasonal. You know, these are pretty easy to check, and you don't always have to, like, you know, just temp gun everything every day. I can check one of these by if it's running, pulling it out, and just feeling the bottom and being like, yeah, it's warm. You know, I can go through, yeah, it's warm. You know, you can check them that way. Same here. You know, I can, yep, it's warm. Hey, you got a shed in there. Oh my God, and you got a lot of stuff that you need cleaned. It is cleaning day tomorrow, y'all. So, check your equipment periodically. Your baby racks, that's not the first baby rack we had failed. There's a reason this one's not running, because we got a bad spot in the heat tape. That one's not made by AP. My point being, it's not a company thing. It's just, you know, they buy those products from somebody else, the heat tape and the heat cable. But we had a bad spot in our heat tape, which caused a lot of those not to heat. So we need to replace all the heat tape in that rack too. Our other ones are all working. We've checked them. Good case in point was on our big wall you can't see. That is a custom-made unit that I want to say is 20 shelves high and 6 wide with 4 different plugins. One of the plugins failed. We knew that from the word go, so we're only using 3 of them, and that one is marked not to use. And now we have to go in and replace that plugin and get that back running, because again, we are going to be at Baby Palooza here soon, so things you got to do. But I guess the moral of the story I want to share with you, one, we always told you we're going to be very, very transparent. So, and that means when something goes bad, I want to be transparent with you all as well. Nobody usually tells you those kind of things unless it's convenient to them. I'm going to tell it to you when it's not convenient for me to tell it to you either. And of course, the baby that died was one of the best ones in the damn clutch too. That's how it always goes. So we've lost, I think, 2 so far this year, 3. Actually, 2 of them were from that rack. Boom, boom. So one of them was a carpet, one of them was that we lost both of those from there. And then one of them was just a random death. So that heat caused me 2 issues. Yeah, pissed. But anyway, there it is. That's what happened. When you see the carpet baby update, now you're going to know why there's one missing, which we'll remind you why when we do it too. But that's kind of what's going on. So check your equipment, check it often. Don't trust the alarms to do it for you. As you can see now, that one's heating up, doing great. Just use your check. Take once every couple days, take a peek at all those thermostats to make sure they're reading properly. When you open your cages, make a habit of feeling the bottom. And that is something we do on our adults, actually. Feel the bottom of them and make sure they're warming the way they're supposed to and not too hot. Because I did find one time when we moved into this room that I bypassed a thermostat somehow on one rack and found, man, these damn things are hot. Found out pretty quick before we had any issues. So just something to remember. Check your equipment. Check your own wiring. Just periodically check everything. Kurt, anything you want to add?
No.
All right. Well, and another point I'll make on that too is not so long ago, you'll remember this. I was working in here. I think I was cleaning or doing something. Believe it or not, I do that. And a snake got the fuck out, and it got around in here, and I couldn't pull it out without hurting it, so I had to let it go back there, then chase it through the rack. Well, there is a shelf behind this. It's about half at the wall, because we're about half underground on that wall. So it went back there, and it probably tore the wiring up from about 8 to 12 tubs. So we had to go through and recheck the wiring for every tub and make sure we were heating and doing well. So, you know, check your stuff, because something gets out and does that. Maybe you have a rodent get out and chew something. Just check your stuff. That's the moral of the story. Nothing you want to add, Kurt?
No.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. There you got to hear it. I effed up, and I'm going to tell you about it. We'll catch you next time.